1963. Henry Ford II sat across from Enzo Ferrari, the richest automotive empire in the world, facing the smallest independent racing team. Ford offered millions, contracts ready, lawyers present. Everything was agreed, until Ferrari read one clause, one sentence, and walked away from more money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. Henry Ford II sat there, stunned. He'd never been told no, not like this. And what happened next became the greatest war in racing history. But to understand why that moment mattered, you need to understand who was sitting at that table. Henry Ford II, grandson of Henry Ford, the man who built Ford Motor Company into an American empire. By 1963, Ford was massive, global, unstoppable. They made millions of cars, employed hundreds of thousands, had more money than most countries. Henry Ford II wasn't just rich, he was American royalty, and he was used to getting what he wanted. When Ford wanted something, they bought it. Simple as that. Land, factories, companies, talent. If it had a price, Ford could pay it. But in 1963, Henry Ford II wanted something different. Not sales, not market share, respect. Ford dominated American roads, but on racetracks, they were nobody. Racing was where brands became legends, where reputations were built. And in the early 1960s, one name dominated racing completely: Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari's small Italian team was winning everything: Le Mans, Monza, Spa. Not because they had the most money, because they had the best cars, the best drivers, the best mystique. When people thought of racing, they thought of Ferrari. Ford wanted that, not just to race, to own it, to buy the entire legend and bring it to America. So in 1963, Ford sent representatives to Italy. The mission was simple: buy Ferrari. The first meetings went well. Enzo Ferrari was interested, actually interested. Why? Because by 1963, Ferrari was struggling financially. Racing was expensive, incredibly expensive. Ferrari poured everything into racing, every profit, every resource, and it was breaking him. He needed money, real money, the kind of money that could fund racing for decades. Ford had that money. So when Ford approached, Ferrari listened. They talked numbers, big numbers, millions of dollars. Ford would buy Ferrari, the factory, the name, everything. Ferrari would stay on, run the racing program, keep building cars, but with Ford's money behind him. Unlimited budget, no financial stress. It sounded perfect. Contracts were drawn up. Lawyers from both sides reviewed everything. Meetings went on for weeks, back and forth. Italy to America, America to Italy. By May 1963, they were close, very close. One final meeting, one signature, and Ferrari would become part of Ford. The final meeting happened in Maranello. Ford executives flew in. Contracts ready, everything prepared. Enzo Ferrari sat down, read through the contract one last time, page after page. Legal language, financial terms, transition plans. Then he reached a section near the end. Racing operations. One clause. Ford Motor Company will retain control over racing budget allocation and competition decisions. Ferrari stopped, read it again, then looked up at the Ford executives. This clause, what does it mean? It means Ford will oversee racing decisions, budget, which races to enter, strategic direction. Who decides which races Ferrari enters? Ford. Who decides which drivers race? Ford. Who decides when to retire a car or push for victory? Silence. Then Ford. But Mr. Ferrari, you'll have input. Ferrari stood up. The meeting is over. The room went quiet. Mr. Ferrari, we can discuss. There is nothing to discuss. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. I thought Ford wanted to buy Ferrari. I was wrong. Ford wants to buy a factory and put their name on my work. But the money, I have money. What I don't have for sale is my freedom. he left. The deal was dead. Henry Ford II heard the news in America. Shocked, then confused, then angry. He said no. Yes, sir. We offered millions. We know, sir. Why? He said Ford wanted control over racing decisions. He refused. Henry Ford II sat back. No one said no to Ford. Not like this. Not over something as simple as who decides which races to enter. Ford had offered to save Ferrari, to give him unlimited money, to take away all financial stress, and Ferrari walked away. Over pride, Henry Ford II made a decision that day, a decision that would cost Ford tens of millions of dollars. Fine, he doesn't want our money, we'll beat him. Sir, we're going racing, we're going to Le Mans, and we're going to destroy Ferrari. This wasn't about racing anymore. This was personal. Henry Ford II poured resources into one goal: beat Ferrari at Le Mans. Le Mans was Ferrari's crown jewel, the race they dominated, the race that made them legendary. Ford would take that crown. They hired the best engineers, the best drivers, built an entire racing division, the GT40 program. Millions of dollars, hundreds of people, all focused on one thing: beating Ferrari. 1964. Ford entered Le Mans. Failed. Cars broke down. 1965. Tried again. Failed again. Mechanical failures. Embarrassment. Ferrari kept winning. And every time Ford failed, it proved Enzo right. Money couldn't buy racing success. You had to earn it. But Ford kept trying. 1966. Le Mans. Ford came back. Better cars, better preparation. And this time, they didn't just compete. They dominated. Ford, 1-2-3 finish. All three, Ford GT40S crossed the line before any Ferrari. Historic, unprecedented, total domination. Henry Ford II was there, watching, celebrating. He'd done it. Beaten Ferrari, proven that American engineering and money could conquer European racing royalty. Photographers captured the moment, the victory, the revenge. Someone asked him, "How does it feel to beat Ferrari?" "It feels like justice." But it didn't stop there. Ford won again in 1967, and 1968, and 1969. 4 straight years, complete Le Mans dominance. Ferrari's crown was gone. The team that had ruled endurance racing for decades was dethroned. By the company they'd rejected, by the money they'd walked away from. Some people called it the greatest revenge in sports history. Henry Ford II had proven his point. You said no to Ford. Ford destroyed you. But here's where the story gets complicated. Did Ford really win? They won races, yes. 4 straight Le Mans victories, undeniable. But Ford spent tens of millions of dollars to do it. The GT40 program cost more than buying Ferrari would have cost, much more. And after 1969, Ford pulled out of racing. Completely. The program was too expensive. The point had been made. They proved they could beat Ferrari. Then they left. Ferrari, still racing, still building cars, still Ferrari. Decades later, long after Henry Ford II died, Ferrari is still the most iconic racing brand on earth. Ford GT is a memory, a legendary one, but a memory. So who actually won? Years later, someone asked Enzo Ferrari about the Ford deal. Do you regret walking away? Long pause. No. But they offered you millions. Unlimited budget. You could have raced without financial stress. And who would have decided which races to enter? Ford. Then it wouldn't have been Ferrari racing. It would have been Ford racing with a Ferrari badge. Is there a difference? Ferrari looked at them like they'd asked if air matters. That is the only difference that matters. He meant it. To Ferrari, racing wasn't about winning the most races. It was about winning on your own terms. Ford won Le Mans 4 times with unlimited money and American engineering. Ferrari won it 9 times, on a fraction of the budget, with Italian pride. Both counted their victories. but Ferrari counted his freedom more. "Ford thought they were buying a company," he said once. "They weren't. They were trying to buy a way of life. My way of life. And you can't buy that. You can buy many things, but you cannot buy the right to tell an Italian how to race." So here's the truth both sides would hate to admit. Ford was right to try. A Ferrari-Ford partnership could have been unstoppable, and Ferrari was right to refuse, because the partnership would have destroyed what made Ferrari special. Ford needed to prove they could beat the best. They did. Ferrari needed to prove some things aren't for sale. He did. Both won, both lost. Ford got their revenge, but lost their racing soul after 1969. Ferrari kept his freedom, but watched someone else dominate his crown jewel for 4 years. The cost of principle, the price of pride. Both paid it. Neither regretted it. Today, the Ford GT is a legend, a beautiful revenge story, a reminder that American determination can conquer anything. And Ferrari is still Ferrari, still independent, still racing on their own terms. The 1963 deal that never happened created the greatest racing rivalry in history, all because one man offered millions and another man laughed, not from arrogance, from certainty, the certainty that some things cost more than money can pay. So here's the question. If you were Enzo Ferrari in 1963, sitting across from unlimited money, what would you choose? Financial security forever, but someone else controls your life's work, or freedom, but constant financial struggle? Principle or survival? Pride or pragmatism? Ferrari chose principle. Ford chose revenge, and racing was never the same. The answer is yours.